Hey, this is Ryan for $2 and Ryantineocons. Today I want to take this issue of the stimulus plan and break down the economics to make it really easy to understand. Okay? Barack Obama has a bill in Congress asking for over $900 billion, and the interest on that is another $300 billion. So you're looking at $1.2 trillion in new money. This is on top of the trillions we spend on our overseas empires already. He's not going to end any wars. We're in Iraq until at least 2011. And he wants to expand the war in Afghanistan and already hit Pakistan with missiles. So much for change. 1.2 trillion. Now the banks have already been getting bailouts. I can tell you why that doesn't work. If you give money to banks, and even if they did pass it on to the general public, which they're not, they're just putting it in their pockets. But say you gave a whole bunch of money to the banks, and the bank said, okay, we're secure, we're going to start giving loans out again. And all these people who are desperate for money to pay off their mortgages would get a loan to pay off a loan. You don't want to be caught in perpetual debt, paying off loan one with loan number two. All that does is add debt on top of debt. When people have to get their money from the bank to pay the money they already owe a bank, then they just owe the bank again. They have to wait and get their money from other people in order to pay. And then how about those other people, where are they getting their money from? The money supply has to shrink, and it's already too small. Ron Paul's plan was the massive tax cut. He wanted to end the trillions overseas and not have any bailouts. There's over $2 trillion right there. In a tax cut, the money is given directly to the people. The people can take without any interest, and it's not something they owe. They get their own money back. They get their money, and then they can pay their mortgages or whatever they owe, and they're finished, debt-free. But if they have to go to a bank to get another loan, they're just going to be caught in this cycle. The U.S. does the same scam on countrywide scales. They go in and do massive infrastructure projects to give them a bill they can't possibly pay, and they're forced to pay the interest for the rest of their lives. Obama's plan is going to destroy the dollar. 1.2 trillion doesn't come from tax revenue. This 1.2 trillion is just going to come straight from the Federal Reserve. They're literally just going to print dollar bills in the U.S. Mint, which they're borrowing from the Federal Reserve via credit. It's less than thin air. It's just the digital punch in on a computer, there's what you owe, 1.2 trillion. They give it to the banks, and the banks can start lending it out, or they can hoard it. Either way, it's shrinking the money supply. If they loan the money out, all they're really doing is putting 1.2 trillion in IOUs out. So the $9 billion stimulus plus the $300 billion in interest that the government has to pay the Fed, and then once that money's loaned out from the banks, there's going to be more interest on top of that. Now some of the money isn't going to the banks, some of the money is going for construction projects and things like that. That should be up to the states, but because of the conditions we're in, they're all broke too. I don't really disagree with using some of the money for infrastructure, but that's only $150 billion of the $900 billion. And I'm not so sure that it's really doing what it says. It's full of pork projects, and it'd be a lot easier to stop all the construction projects in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these no-bid contracts. That money could have been spent fixing American roads and bridges, instead of paying to blow up a bridge and then paying to rebuild it. What the government does is the government employees invest in certain companies. Then, using war as a medium, they allocate contracts to the same companies they just invested in. And those companies make a lot of money, but they're actually paying themselves. It's insider trading. First they invest in, say, Lockheed, and they give Lockheed a contract, Lockheed's stock goes up, and then they sell it and they make money, and then they just give them another contract. It's endless insider trading. The Obama administration has done nothing to change or give us hope that Bush wasn't doing. He's actually worse. We're going to have more wars, more debt, and hyperinflation. Bravo, America. You had a chance with Paul. You could have ended the wars. You could have had no bailouts. You could have got massive tax cuts. You could have gotten rid of the income tax entirely. Could have gotten rid of the Federal Reserve. Could have gotten rid of the IRS. Could have cut the CIA in half. Could have gotten rid of the Department of Homeland Security. All these things could be cut and we could save money. The government needs to cut spending and return the money directly to the people without debt or interest owed. No usury. It's a very long historical concept. Usury destroys nations. The best thing to do now is to fight Obama in the Congress and try and block this stimulus plan. As far as changing our foreign policy, sadly, it's just not going to happen. But we have to fight it anyway.